Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Have At It, episode 92. My name is Ben Cornett, and you're watching this on my YouTube channel at Ben Cornett 9015. You're also watching this on Facebook on the Ben Zone Facebook group. And this week's episode of Have At It is going to take us back to a little old school. We're going to do a show that I used to do. I no longer have time to do it anymore, but I thought with this episode in particular, thought we'd bring it back for at least one episode. It's Face the Heels, and it was a wrestling show I did regularly, but as my schedule gets busier in life, don't have time to do all these different shows. But tonight we're gonna do one because it's WrestleMania weekend coming up. It's WrestleMania week out here in Las Vegas, Legion Stadium, Saturday and Sunday night. 2 nights WrestleMania. This is the 41st WrestleMania, and man, I got to tell you, it's my favorite time of season. So yeah, why don't we jump into it? But before we do have a comment in the YouTube channel. Let's check them out. Christopher Cole, thanks for tuning in. He's a regular on my show here in the comments. Thank you, Christopher. He's saying, can't wait to see what storylines play out Saturday night. Oh, yeah, we're going to get to it. And Sunday night as well. Absolutely. So, man, with that being said, let's jump on into it. Now, again, WrestleMania 41 takes place this Saturday and Sunday, 2 nights. They've been doing that since 2020, which I always thought was good. It gives you the entire weekend to watch WrestleMania. I think the WrestleMania before 2020, obviously the 2021 was the pandemic year, unfortunately. Couldn't have crowds or anything, but the one in 2019, which I believe was in MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, it was a show that went on for nearly 5 hours. And I think WWE recognized that and felt like, okay, we can't do just one night for 5 hours. That'll just drain the fans out. We got to make it 2 nights, for like 3.5, 4 hours, make sure we get as many wrestlers on the card, as many matches on the card for each night. And I feel that's been a great move ever since. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. This year's WrestleMania should be very interesting. I will say that, and this is just my opinion, last year was a little bit better as far as the build up and stuff. We had the Cody finishing his story, um, The Rock and him trying to take Cody's spot in WrestleMania. There's an uproar online. Cody got his match back, and eventually he finished the story, beat Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE title, which he is, as we speak, still the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. So that his opponent this year is none other than John Cena, who's on his retirement tour. 2025 is the last year for John Cena. That's what he says. That's what's been reported. And we all saw at the Elimination Chamber the John Cena turn, his heel turn. Um, Initially, I was very excited about this. I was all for it. It was a great turn, and I felt like Cena. This is what he needed, and you know, but as the weeks have gone along, he's only made a couple of appearances on Raw. He will make an appearance tomorrow night on SmackDown, the final SmackDown before Mania. but I feel like he's been good on the mic. He always has been. But I don't know if it's just me or it's just been kind of underwhelming to me, to say the least. And that's just my opinion. I feel like Cena's that old man, midlife crisis kind of guy. You know, I just feel like it's missing something, because he was in cahoots with The Rock, and we haven't seen The Rock since. And The Rock hasn't been talked about, when Cena and Cody have gone at it on the mic, with the limited interactions that they've had. So, as far as this match goes, and we'll get into it, but it should be very interesting to see what comes out of it come WrestleMania. So, with that being said, we got 2 nights to talk about. Let's talk about night one. We got 7 matches on the card. Um, in the opening match, as they announced on social media, it will be Gunther defending the World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso. Now, as we all know, Jey Uso's been on an incredible streak the last year and a half. He's just so over with the fans. I know there's a lot of discourse online that, you know, Jay, saying that, well, he's not a great wrestler. Why is he in this spot? The fact of the matter is, or I should say what Stone Cold would say, the bottom line is that Jey Uso, his character's over. He's selling merchandise. That's what you need to do as a wrestler, is to get over. Hulk Hogan was one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen in the ring. But he was still over because he's Hulk Hogan. Okay? The Rock was not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he's The Rock. He got over. Why? Because of him. Okay? So, this discourse of Jay, oh, he shouldn't be in this spot. He's not a great wrestler. Like, guys, it doesn't matter. The fans love him. They yeet every time he comes out to the ring. He's over. And that's what the reason he's in this spot. And now he's going up against Gunther. I will say it's been a pretty good build. Now, we've seen a lot of it's been the same thing, the beating each other up kind of stuff. A few weeks ago, Gunther beat his brother Jimmy Uso, beat him to a bloody pulp while Jey Uso was with a zip tied to the ring, to the ring rope. That was a good scene. And then a week later, Jay comes out with a great promo and didn't do anything. He didn't go after Gunther. He just told Gunther he's not afraid anymore. He's ready for him. So then Gunther cut a great promo last week. So the last few weeks, it's been really good. The build-up's been really good for this. It's going to open the match or open the card for WrestleMania, night one. Normally, you would think that's a main event spot. That's the last one to go on the card, but it's almost just as important to, to be on the opening match of the card because it sets the tone for the rest of the show. So I feel like this match, and as far as the prediction goes, I think Jay's going to win the title. He's going to get his moment. Now, how long do we think Jay's going to hold the title after that? Who knows? Maybe it won't be too long, but maybe it'll be a while. But fact of the matter is, he's going to have his WrestleMania moment, and he's going to beat Gunther. So I got Jey Uso defeating Gunther for the world title at WrestleMania. So on to the other matches. We got one that's a real interesting match that's gotten a lot of backlash online as well with stuff we've seen, out of these two. It's for the WWE Women's title. The champion Tiffany Stratton will defend her title against Charlotte Flair, who won the Royal Rumble. By the way, I forgot to mention Jey Uso also won the Royal Rumble for the men's side 2025. So that's why he got the title shot with Gunther. So going back to Charlotte, she is now going up against Tiffany Stratton. Now it's been a very interesting road to WrestleMania for these two. We saw the infamous off-script promo a few weeks ago on SmackDown, where Tiffany said the 0-3 line, because of Charlotte's divorces, everything, and Charlotte fires back with the whole, why is Ludwig Kaiser in my DMs? We all know if you're a real wrestling fan, you're on social media, Ludwig Kaiser and Tiffany Stratton are together. They're an item. But boy, this has been to me, this has just been cringy, in my opinion. There's a few weeks before where they had a sit down interview and Tiffany just was trying to remember lines, couldn't remember them. Seemed like Charlotte was, getting the best of her in that aspect. And then Charlotte, it's been reported the one in SmackDown in Chicago, Charlotte went off script. There's rumors that she's maybe sabotaging this thing. Who knows? But it just feels like it should be better than what it's been as far as build. But still, this should be an interesting match. I get it. Charlotte's gonna try to tie her dad for most titles ever. Ric Flair won 16 titles, Charlotte's won 15. You would think, okay, this will be Charlotte's time to win her 16th title, tie her father, Ric Flair. But then again, at the same time, you got Tiffany Stratton, who just won the title a few months ago. Do you really want to take it off her this soon? To me, I'm gonna say that I think Tiffany is gonna win the match. Now, a lot of people are a little skeptical of that. They think it's gonna be Charlotte. They're gonna give the title to her, tie her dad's record, blah blah blah. I just feel like if you give it to Charlotte for that reason, what does that do for Tiffany? She won't have a big win under her belt. She needs a big WrestleMania win. Charlotte's fine. She's not going to lose steam or anything like that. She's still Charlotte Flair. So I feel like Tiffany Stratton is going to win that match against Charlotte. So she's going to retain the title. And I'm sure there's going to be another. Well, I'm not sure about that now. I was going to say there could be a rematch here and there, but with things going as bad as it's been reported, maybe WWE feels like, okay, we need to maybe just get this over with, and then both wrestlers move on. And we got to keep in mind that we're going to have the draft coming up, I think, a few weeks after WrestleMania. So, chance they could be separated on a different show. So I do have Tiffany winning that match, retaining the title over Charlotte Flair. It's just my opinion. Could be wrong, but that's how I feel. All right. So before I continue, let me get to Corey King Brown on Facebook. He's got some comments saying 8 match still open, Randy Orton versus who? We'll get to that. Thanks, Corey, for tuning in tonight. He says Jey Uso can beat Gunther soon, close 3 times. Yeah. Corey says Kaiser sucks. Yeah. He's got Tiffany Stratton, so he doesn't suck at that. And Corey says Damian Priest beat Drew McIntyre. We'll get into that as well. And then Christopher Cole has some comments on YouTube saying, does The Rock turn on Cena? We will get to that in a minute here. That's night 2. The Rock is great on the mic. Yeah, he's one of the all-time greats on the mic. Love The Rock. And Christopher says Flair is not it anymore. Well, yeah, I think, Charlotte Flair's still one of the best in the world in WWE. She deserves to be in a high-profile spot, but as far as being a champion, I don't think she has to be a champion. She's already over. It's Tiffy time, as she likes to say. So that's how I feel. I think Tiffany should win that match, but we'll see what happens. More matches on night 1. We got LA Knight defending the United States title against Jacob Fatu. Fatu won a number 1 contenders match with Braun Strowman last week. to earn, or a couple weeks ago to earn that title shot. So it's going to be LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. This should be a very good match. It's, LA Knight's had issues with the new bloodline with Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga. So it's leading up to this. And I think this will be a very good match. Going to be hard hitting. Um, as much as I like LA Knight, I do think Jacob Fatu's been just phenomenal ever since he debuted last summer. He's just been on a roll. I seen it, Jacob Fatu, and all the way back in MLW. Uh, he had some great matches, and I knew if he could just get to the main roster, get to WWE, he would do some great things. And I was right. He's been on a roll. And I will say this: I think Jacob Fatu beats LA Knight at WrestleMania. He's going to win his first title on the main roster. So I got Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf, beating LA Knight to win the United States title at WrestleMania Night 1. Another feud that's been really, under the radar good. And I got to say, this is one that's been surprisingly good, is Jade Cargill going up against Naomi. As we all know, that for months, Jade Cargill was out with the injury when she was found on her back on a windshield. We found out, we kept wanting to know who did it, and it turned out to be Naomi. And we saw at the Elimination Chamber where, before the match started, Naomi got attacked by Jade Cargill. And then we found out on that SmackDown that, yes, Naomi did it, and off to the races we go. So Jade and Naomi have had a pretty good feud. Naomi's heel turn was much needed. The glow has pretty much been gone, So this is nice. It's refreshing. It's good for Naomi's character. She's doing the heel thing pretty good. So I think it's going to be a good match. I do have Jade winning this match, to get her a big win on the card. I know Naomi could use it too, but I feel like WWE is really pushing Jade here to be the next big thing, in my opinion. So I do see Jade winning this match against Naomi at WrestleMania. So that's my prediction there. And we also just announced last week, I believe, the the War Raiders, the WWE World Tag Team Champions on Raw. They're going to defend their titles against the New Day, the heel New Day. I haven't done this face the heels in a while, so so I haven't had a chance to talk about the heel turn of the New Day, which I think's been phenomenal. The way that they did the heel turn, we all thought Kofi and Xavier Woods would turn on each other, but then Big E was trying to get them back together, but then they both turned on Big E and pretty much humiliated him, and sent Big E off. And now you have Xavier and Kofi as a tag team. I like the heel turn. I like the run so far. Going up against the War Raiders now. I know they had a match a couple weeks ago for the titles, and the War Raiders won by disqualification. So this leads to a rematch. And I got to say, I like the War Raiders. I think they're a great team, great tag team. But I do see the New Day winning the tag team titles. Now, there was a thought by many that, and I had somebody at work tell me today, that, and shout out to my friend Devin, if he's watching, that maybe Big E shows up at WrestleMania and costs the New Day. Now, that would be fun. That would be very logical. But then you got to wonder, well, is Big E even going to be, what would he do? Is he going to be cleared to compete? Then he'd have to find a tag partner. So we don't know. I'm I'm gonna say that I don't see that happening now. I understand it's WrestleMania and it could happen, but I do think the New Day are gonna win the tag titles and beat the War Raiders. I just have a feeling that's gonna happen. So that's my prediction for that match as well. So with that being said, we got two more matches on the card for night one. It'll be a pretty funny storyline we got here. Rey Mysterio, he's been doing it for seems like forever. I don't know how many WrestleManias he's had. He's had over a dozen, and gonna add another one to his career. He's gonna go up against El Grande Americano. Yes, El Grande Americano, the luchador that Chad Gable is looking for down in Mexico. And like we all pretty much know that El Grande Americano is Chad Gable, or is he? I don't know. They have the same body type, same tattoo. Who knows? Anyway, I know. We all know who it is. But it's been kind of a fun storyline. I mean, you kind of need some comedy in wrestling. You need that comedic match, and I feel like this is going to be a fun little match. I think both wrestlers are going to put on a great show in the ring, and I'm going to go with I think Rey Mysterio wins this one, in my opinion. I think he does, and we could see him unmask El Grande, and it will be Chad Gable. So that's what I think is going to happen. So I got Ray beating El Grande Americano. And finally, close out night one of WrestleMania. It's the triple threat match. One of the few matches I'm very excited about. Because I will say a lot of these matches, some of them you could say maybe are good Raw or SmackDown matches, but this is definitely a WrestleMania match. It's a triple threat match between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. And we all know that by now that Paul Heyman has kind of been the key figure in this storyline because of the favor that CM Punk wanted, because that's what Paul Heyman owed him since CM Punk joined Roman, Usos, and Sami Zayn to beat the New Bloodline at Survivor Series. And they did that, so CM Punk is owed a favor by Paul Heyman, and CM Punk cashed in that favor by saying that he wants Paul Heyman to be in his corner for WrestleMania. Very interesting. I think it's been a pretty good build up. You have a lot of intangibles here, like what could happen here. Could we see a turn? Could we see Paul Heyman turning on Roman Reigns on his tribal chief? Does Seth Rollins turn heel? Does CM Punk turn heel? So this will be very interesting. As far as who I think will win this match, I really think this could go either way. It could go either one of three ways. But I think most people would feel like Seth Rollins is going to be the guy that turns. I don't see that. I think CM Punk is going to be the one that turns. I really do. And I think CM Punk wins this match, in my opinion. And I think he aligns himself with Paul Heyman. Leaves Roman Reigns. I mean, if you really think about it, like CM Punk came back, Seth Rollins saying all these things about how Punk, now he wants to come back to he's trashing the company for while he was gone for those 7 years. Maybe Punk makes Seth Rollins right. Maybe Punk's in it for himself. I don't know, but that's how I feel. So I think CM Punk wins this match, and I think he aligns himself with Paul Heyman. permanently. So it's my prediction for night one. Um, we got Christopher Cole here in the comments section. I believe that he'll lose his mask and be exposed. Yeah, I feel the same as well. As far as El Grande. And then does Nia Jax interrupt the match between Tiffy and Flair? I don't know. It's possible, but maybe. Maybe. We'll see what happens there. Now we'll go on to night two. Should be a interesting night as well. It's got some interesting matches. Now I feel like night two maybe not as good as far as like match wise, is what I'm looking forward to. But we'll just get right into it. There was one match that I was really looking forward to at WrestleMania between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. But of course, we found out that Kevin Owens had a legit injury and he had to go get surgery. It was a neck injury that was reported, and he would be out for at least a year. So KO is out of WrestleMania, and now we have to find out who Orton's opponent's going to be. We saw that when Kevin Owens announced he would be leaving WWE, get surgery. Orton then gave the RKO to SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis, and last week it led to some speculation. Could we possibly have a match with? Could Nick come out of his GM role and wrestle? I feel like Orton's opponent, though, there's been reports online could be returning Aleister Black would be interesting, but I feel like if you're going to debut Aleister Black, you want him to get a win. So I don't see it being him. I think it's going to end up being Solo Sikoa as Randy Orton's opponent. I know that may be a little underwhelming, but again, on such short notice, what are you going to do? They didn't plan for Kevin Owens to get injured and have to be out sideline. So you got to, call an audible. And, Solo, it makes a lot of sense. Orton's been feuding with the Bloodline, over the past year. So, and you get Solo Sikoa on the card. So I feel like that's going to be the opponent for Randy Orton. So it would be Orton and Solo Sikoa, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I feel that's, it might also be the safest pick as well. But we'll see how that plays out on Sunday night. AJ Styles will go up against Logan Paul. This match, I think from a match standpoint, is going to be great. Those guys are very good. AJ's like 46, 47 years old. He's still doing this at a high level. I mean, it's pretty impressive. It really is. And what a perfect opponent for Logan Paul, who is back. Logan, like I said, I've been saying it in past episodes of Face the Heels that he's just made for wrestling. I know he's a boxer, but it seems like wrestling's his best attribute. He just gets it. His, personality, the way he moves around in the ring, the athleticism, just his persona. I mean, he's a WWE guy. He's a wrestler. He's a sports entertainer. He knows how to do this. And, I'm just amazed that Logan Paul can do all these things. And really with very little time to, picking this up, late in his career. And I'm just impressed. Some people just have it. And Logan's one of those guys, so I always enjoy a Logan Paul match. He's a good heel as well, because people actually despise the guy. And so he's doing his job. And with AJ Styles, I mean, this is a perfect dance partner. They're going to have some great moves in the ring. It'll be a fun match. And as far as who I think will win, I don't know. It could go either way. I'd be fine with Logan Paul winning. I'd be fine with AJ winning. So I really don't have a prediction for this one. I predict it's going to be a very good match, and it could steal the show because both guys are, no pun intended, phenomenal. And Logan Paul's just fun to watch, whether you like him or not. He's entertaining, and you're always going to get the best out of both guys. So this is kind of like my sleeper match in Mania. I can't wait to see that one. Um, the next match we got is Damian Priest against Drew McIntyre. I think it's like a Vegas street fight. Um, gosh, on paper, this should be a great match. It really should be. I just feel like Drew deserves more. And I got nothing against Damian Priest. I think Damian's been great. He was the world champion for a while. Um, he lost his title at SummerSlam last year to Gunther, and after Finn Balor screwed him over and they were in the Judgment Day. Um, Damian's been trying to, swim upstream ever since. Drew McIntyre had a great year in 2024. He had that trilogy with CM Punk. Um, you know, I just feel Drew deserves better. But we're gonna get this match. I expect it to be good. Um, I do think you got to have Drew win this over Damian Priest, just because he's on a roll right now. And again, nothing against Damian Priest. I think he's very good, but I don't think it would hurt him if he lost. You know, Priest will be fine. I think Drew could use it. Again, he also just signed a new deal not too long ago, so I do expect big things for Drew McIntyre. I just wish he could have had a better match on WrestleMania, in my opinion. But it still should be good. So we'll check that out. And I got Drew beating Damian Priest. Excuse me. All right. Another match we got here is for the women's world tag team titles. They are currently held by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez from Judgment Day. They're going to defend them against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care. I mean, listen, I like Liv Morgan. I think she should have another match against somebody else, but I get it. Liv and Raquel, they're the tag champs. I think it's good to put them on those two. And we all know, and I love Liv. I love those outfits. But other than my perverted self, what I like, Bayley and Lyra, it's interesting. Interesting team. I'm not the biggest fan of makeshift tag teams, but um, with two singles wrestlers. But I think this leads to something down the road. I don't think Bayley and Lyra will win the tag team titles. I do think it'll eventually be a turn here. I'm seeing maybe Bayley turning heel again. I think her babyface, run it's been okay, but it's kind of filtering out. And she did have an Intercontinental title match with Lyra a few weeks ago on Raw. It was a great match, but I do think it's time for Bayley to maybe have another heel run. And Lyra, she's a great champion. Not her fault that she hasn't had great opponents for her. But I do think this is going to lead to a Bayley Lyra feud. To lose the match to Liv and Raquel. I don't know if we're going to see a heel turn there at Mania, but we're going to see the uh, seeds be planted for this Bayley Lyra feud that'll eventually happen. I do expect Bayley to eventually win the IC title. So I do have Liv and Raquel retaining the women's tag team titles over Bayley and Lyra. Speaking of Judgment Day, we're going to talk about our next match. It's a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title. This is a match I'm looking forward to. One of the few I'm looking forward to because I really love the four participants in this. You got the IC champ Braun Breaker defending his title against Penta, who's been, I gotta say, ever since he's debuted the WWE, he's just been on fire, and he is so over with the crowd. People love him. He's finally on a platform where he's going to be used very well. I'm not saying when he was in AEW he wasn't used well. He was obviously tag team partners with Ray Phoenix, the Lucha Bros. They had a great run there. Ray Phoenix, by the way, is on SmackDown. He debuted a couple weeks ago. But Penta now on the big stage gets his title shot. Be a fatal four-way. He's going to go up against. It's going to be Braun Breaker, Penta. And you got Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. I gotta say, this is going to be a fun match. I do have Braun Breaker retaining, and the reason why is I think eventually Penta is going to win the title, eventually, but not yet. But I think more importantly than that, we're going to start to see the collapse of the Judgment Day, and we're going to start to see Finn and Dominic go at it. The seeds have been planted for that for months. The jealousy, this and that. I do think Dominic or Finn or one of them is going to cost each other the Intercontinental title, and Braun Breaker will retain, and that's where you're going to start seeing the breakup with the Judgment Day. So possibly Finn being kicked out of the Judgment Day. That's my prediction. So I do have Braun Breaker retaining the title against Finn, Penta, and Dominic, which should be a fun match, especially with Penta in there. He's going to do a lot of great things. Man, and if you haven't seen Penta wrestle yet, you got to watch this match. You just got to watch him. He's been great ever since he's came to WWE. So, yeah, I cannot wait. This is going to be a fun match. All right, now we got a triple threat match for the WWE Women's World Title between the current champion Io Sky going up against Bianca Belair, and who is the number one contender after she won the Elimination Chamber, and Rhea Ripley. And originally this is going to be Io and Bianca Belair. Now, a couple months ago on Raw, Io beat Rhea Ripley for the for the Women's World Title. And Rhea's upset that Bianca won that match. She felt Bianca interfered and cost Rhea the match. So now Rhea, for several weeks, trying to get into that title picture, and she did. It's funny when she grabbed the contract or the Intercontinental, or for the, I keep saying Intercontinental title match. Still thinking about the Intercontinental match. But the Women's World Title match between Io and Bianca, and she put her name on it, and it's fun little thing, which I think we all knew was going to happen. It's going to be a triple threat. This will be very interesting, and like I said, my friend and I at work today, we were talking about it. He was telling me that maybe Asuka returns. Now remember, Asuka, Io, Kairi Sane, Dakota Sky, Damage Control. That's a possibility. And I could see that. And I'm convinced that that could happen. Maybe Io retains the title with the help of Damage Control. Because certainly Rhea, she doesn't need the title right now. And Bianca, I feel like she may be going to a feud. She's got unfinished business with Naomi and Jade Cargill. I could very well see Io retaining the title and Damage Control helping her out with that. Because she feels like she's been ganged up. And she has. She's been kind of an afterthought in this rivalry. It's been Rhea and Bianca going at it. So it kind of makes sense that we could see Damage Control come back, help Io beat Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. I like that. So that's what I'm going to go with. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could definitely see that. I really could. Just for, I think she's a lot of male fans' wrestling crush. So I don't blame you for that one bit. Liv is hot. Indeed. Corey says that on Facebook, Dirty Dominic's going to win that match? He could. Yeah, I could see that. That'd be interesting. Dominic winning the Intercontinental title. I mean, it could go different ways with that. I just feel like this is more about a Finn Dominic feud at maybe at Backlash or sometime during the summer. So, but who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Before I get to the last match, let's take a swig. My Coke Zero. And talk about the main event. The match we've all wanted to see. The match. The champ, Cody Rhodes, defending his title against John Cena. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Elimination Chamber, John Cena won the opportunity to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And then, as we know, The Rock gave Cody a decision to be his champion. And Cody, and I think we're late enough at night now where I can say this, Cody told The Rock to go fuck himself. And there we go. And then John Cena gave him a hug, and then we saw the look, and The Rock gave Cena the look. Cena gave that heelish look and kicked Cody in the nuts and turned heel. Rapper Travis Scott slapped him in the head, busted his eardrum a little bit. And there we go. We had the heel turn, and we got the match. Off to the races we go. And like I said before, this has been a good build up. I think it could be better. I just feel like Cena's that old man, midlife crisis kind of guy. You know, maybe tomorrow night he'll change it up a little bit. Maybe we get something spectacular leading us to WrestleMania. As far as prediction goes, I've been thinking about this, and I've just been thinking about it before I even started the show. And I think Christopher Cole may have hit it on the head here. Let me put the comment up here. Does The Rock turn on Cena? And it's very interesting. Because, John talks about how the fans, he bought into this, bought into that. You all bought into this. Maybe John's just a bitter guy. Maybe he's jealous of Cody. I don't know, but it just feels like something big's going to happen. Do I think it'll be The Rock turning on Cena? I don't know, but I know something big's going to happen. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it'll be necessarily that, but something will happen at WrestleMania. And it's interesting because Cody's not scheduled to be on Raw the night after. That's what the reports say. So makes you think. Now, even though Cody's technically a SmackDown performer, it just makes you think. What's going to happen? I don't have a real prediction. My prediction is, as far as who wins this match, I think it goes either way. I really do. Do I think he should lose? I mean, has his title run been great? I would say maybe not great. It's been pretty good, but not. I expected more out of it. And sometimes, and this is the thing, once the babyface finally gets that title after he's chased the heel for so long, it's almost like he did it. He climbed Mount Everest. He got to the top of the mountain. He finally won. He finally finished the story. okay, now what? You know, I just, I don't know. I just feel like maybe Cody needs a change. Maybe he does turn heel. Maybe he was with The Rock all along and he screws John Cena. And John Cena was used this whole time as a pawn, you know? It'll be very interesting. I'm not going to predict that'll happen, but I can definitely see it happening. I'm going to say Cody wins the match. And we could see a heel turn. I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I can't really give a prediction, but I did. But something's going to happen. Something very unique is going to happen, and hopefully, it'll be a very big WrestleMania moment. Because the last thing you really want to see is something that doesn't. You'd be like, "What?" And then you leave disappointed. So I'll just say I don't know what's going to happen, but I think something big will happen in this main event at WrestleMania. That's just my opinion. Um, yeah, so that is pretty much what I got for this episode of Face the or Have at It Face the Heels edition. But yeah, we just went over the WrestleMania card, night 1 and night 2. Like I would say the 3 matches I'm looking forward to the most is Cody Cena. Um, the IC title, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, Dominic, and Penta, and CM Punk, Seth, and Roman Reigns. Those would be my 3 matches. Io, Bianca, and Rhea should be good too, and I think AJ and Logan Paul will be a great match. Should be a sneaky good match. So those are ones I'm looking forward to. And yeah, let's do it. WrestleMania is a couple of days away. Tomorrow night we got SmackDown leading up to Mania. And man, get ready for these 2 nights. Should be very fun. That's pretty much all I got for this episode of Face Heels or Have at It Face the Heels edition, episode 92. As always, I want to thank everybody who watched the show tonight. Christopher Cole, Corey, thanks for tuning in the comments section. Appreciate that. Like I said, on my YouTube channel, Ben Cornet 9015. Give me a like, share, and subscribe. Greatly appreciated. As well, I'm on Facebook as well, the Ben Zone Facebook group. So check me out there as well. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to take off and enjoy WrestleMania, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Both nights should be good, and can't wait to see it. So everybody, until next time, I'll see you later. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time here on Have at It. Take care.